what was the beginning. But growing up in an African household, that almost seems like a foregone conclusion that you're going to be a footballer.
I think the main thing that bothers me is like when people say I came out of nowhere.
That's where it's like.
That's where it's like for me, I'm like, all right, y'all just really just talking. I just took everything in stride. I like worked for everything. Like I just kept telling myself, like, obviously people gonna doubt what I'm doing. They're gonna doubt like my dreams and whatever. So I said, I'm just gonna prove it.
With who you are as a player, 12 years in this league, real receipts, how would you go about trying to mark and shut down Patrick?
Well, first of all, I would have wanted it to be in maybe year 7. That's probably better than year 12 or 11.
That's the most real thing ever said on this whole platform.
This is New Ground with Allen Hopkins Jr. Let's go. And Jalil Anibaba.
We are back and we are better. New Ground on SiriusXM FC channel 157. Your home, the epicenter for melanin-rich conversations about life, soccer, footy, whatever you call it. We hope that you find who you are in our show each and every time you take the time to listen. Allen Hopkins Jr., Jalil Anibaba. Jalil, how you living this week?
You already know. We talking about footy. Just so everybody knows, that's what I call it. Footy. And it's Thursday night. It's on and popping. We bring it on, and I'm stealing your thunder because I'm telling people who we bringing on. We bringing on the homie, Patrick Agyemang. It doesn't get better. There's so many things to dive into, but man, it's on the other side of the screen. I'm looking at my homie Allen Hopkins. His dreads are fresh. His lineup is clean. The bifocals are polished. Yo, let's get after this.
You know what, man? The glasses are probably only going to get thicker, so there's nothing I can do at this point. I'm sure that'll be a consistent refrain on this show. And speaking of this show, Jalil and I are tag teaming MLS preseason. He's in Clearwater, Florida. I'm in Coachella Valley International. We are covering MLS preseason in only the way New Ground can. So we'll make sure we get you up to speed on all things MLS preseason as we make that turn for opening day on February 22nd. We'll also play another round of Old Faces, New Places. It kicks up once again into hyperdrive. A couple of Jalil's former clubs making some splash acquisitions. And as Jalil mentioned, this week helping us cover New Ground, none other than Charlotte FC and newly minted U.S. men's national team striker Patrick Agyemang. But Jalil, before we get into that amazing conversation, before we get into preseason Florida, how is it so far?
Yeah, it's calm, it's smooth, it's on the beach, it's a vibe. And you know me, man. I loved every single bit of my career.
Yes.
All 12 years and everything that led up to it in the youth ranks and the college ranks as well. But my goodness, am I happy to be able to be in and around preseason and not have to experience what preseason feels like. Dang, man. So it's really good to be around a lot of people that, were very crucial in my maturation as a young man, as a footballer. But yeah, being able to experience it from this side of the touchline is exactly where I want to be right now.
Hey, you work out when you want to work out, how much you want to work out, you eat, you do whatever you want. It's a beautiful thing in preseason from a distance. I'm in Coachella Valley getting ready to really get into the last part of MLS preseason. Match day 1 kicked off. Want to thank everyone, LA Galaxy, the Coachella organizing, AEG, everyone. Such an amazing thing. 5 matches, 1 day. You get to see 10 teams. You really get a sense now we're in phase 2 plus of preseason of what's happening. But I am just like you in the sun. It's beautiful. You see why preseason always prefers the sunshine. The work is a little bit easier if the sun is shining on your face. So we're looking forward to it. The march to the 2025 MLS regular season opening day continues. And because of that, the roster construction is in full swing. And I want to get your thoughts on a couple of moves and then digging deeper on a couple of more. First, We talked about Patrick Agyemang joining us, his new teammate, Wilfried Zaha, going on loan from Galatasaray to Charlotte FC. And then how about Jovelic moving from the Galaxy to Sporting Kansas City? A couple of strikers coming into the league, one moving to another club in the same conference. Give me a sense of the Zaha and Jovelic transactions in your opinion.
Yeah, I like the Zaha move, of course, because it gives Charlotte that ability to be a little bit more marketable, in my opinion, in terms of their roster. Also gives them the opportunity to have maybe that 1-2 punch with Agyemang and Zaha. That is what a lot of people are talking about. So it's going to be very interesting to see how their attack really shapes up. Last year, they did a lot of damage on the counter. What I want to see from them is to be able to dominate every single aspect of the game. And with the Zaha, in continuation with them gelling more and more as a team under Dean Smith in his second year at the helm, it's an interesting prospect what could come out of Charlotte there. And when you talk about Jovelic, he is one of my top forwards in this league.
The chess
just because he's a gamer. He's a baller. Without Jovelic, the Galaxy, they don't win MLS Cup. Full stop, and I'll tell anybody that to their face.
Facts.
He's such a crucial member of their run. And, Ricky Puig went out ahead of the MLS Cup final. He seemed to just have that demeanor like, you know what, bro? It's all good. I'll handle this.
I got this.
So I really love what Peter Vermees and company were able to do to get him into the front door, because he's one of the players in the league where I feel like anybody would let their screen, their front door, everything open for him.
I think it's the first time. Yeah, go for it.
No. I was just going to say a move for me that I don't know if a lot of people are talking about quite enough is Latte coming into Atlanta. This is a player that lit Europe up. And if he's comfortable on that turf, with Almiron, it can be some trouble.
I was going to tease that one on the way out as a throw-in, but you're absolutely right. I'm excited. I really do believe there is going to be an awakening, if you will, from Atlanta from the top. And I think what we saw at the end of last year was sort of them dusting off that whole vibe. I'm right there with you. Atlanta could be off to the races again at Mercedes-Benz. Vroom, vroom.
He said vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. They be running down there.
I ain't gonna let you just get away with that like nothing just happened. That was you know me, I'm always about the little side effects. I know hit him with a boom.
Hey, I was going to add. I appreciate that. You're bringing. You're helping me out, man. You're bringing me out of so much of the square constructs that I occupy. But I think Jovelic gives Vermees the first real 9 he's had on the scout in a minute.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that makes such a difference, knowing that there's a game wrecker, a match winner in the other locker room leading into match day. I just think that's something that they haven't had. Polito just could never stay healthy, but when he found his form, he was good. But I think that's a good move. Speaking of good moves, in terms of the business side of it and the bucks, Cucho Hernandez, $16 million to Real Betis. I see your body language there. That's your old club. You have a lot of love for Columbus, as do I. Issa Tall, the GM, Wilfried, Nancy, of course. What do you make of that move? And is that a short-term L, but a long-term win? Or do you think that's a transaction that was maybe born out of other issues surrounding him and his tenure with the club?
No, I don't see anything negative about the move whatsoever. I don't see it being an L at all. When you're able to ascend in the way that Cucho was able to in his time with Columbus, top clubs and top leagues around the world are going to be calling, especially when you came from one of the top leagues in the world.
Agreed.
So I just love how his mentality was on point from the moment he came into our locker room in 2022. He came in the summer window, which if you are going into Europe, the summer window is
the January window
because it's when you're starting.
It's our January window, right?
For facts, but for us in MLS, the summer window is when everything is on and popping and everybody is running 100 miles an hour. He took about a week or two to get himself ready to catch the rhythm. And then it was literally no looking back from there. I'm extremely happy for him. It's a big move. I spoke to him today. And he, it's just one of those where when you have a teammate who really lights up the locker room, they do the things right in the locker room. They're good team guys, and they're also top ballers. I got time for that all day, every day.
What's that conversation like, Jalil, between and you don't have to get into the details of it, but what's that conversation like between two teammates who respected each other, who, blood, sweat, tears, and shared a locker room? That's a level of relationships 99.9% of the world don't know about. So is he reflective? Is he nostalgic? Is he like, yo, I'm about to go get it at Batiste? Like, give me a sense of what that conversation is just like in terms of thematics and just the general vibe of it.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation was short. I just dropped him a line to tell him congratulations, and he was appreciative for the line. And I'm a type where if I caught good vibes with you in the locker room, I'm gonna keep in touch. So that's how it's been with Cucho and I since I retired in 2022. After his first couple months with the club, we caught a good vibe as teammates, and we'll just keep tabs on each other. Nothing more, nothing less. But there's something amazing about how sports, and especially footy, can fortify bonds really, really quickly, because you get to sum people up and see if they're the type of person you want to be around or move away from. And Cucho is always a guy that I wanted to be around in the locker room. And again, I'm happy for him. The bit of business, or I guess the large bit of business that Columbus was able to enact with Real Betis to get the deal done makes perfect sense for everyone involved from everything I can see.
I will add, just to put a bow on that, and as well said, Jalil, is that the success part, I think, is undervalued in this. This is what happens when you are successful, i.e. Columbus in this case. They lost Tim Vespachenko. He goes to Bournemouth. Look at what they're doing, right? There's no coincidences. Nothing happens by accident. You see Cucho Hernandez, one of the top strikers in the league, in a top league, going for big money. So it's clear that, the talk around Nancy, was he going to go, and then having bigger clubs in Europe coming for him. That's just all the byproduct of success. And I think every CSO, chief sporting officer, chief soccer officer, general manager, whatever you want to call it, sporting director, would want to be in a position where they are dealing with the downfall of success, which does happen. So that's for sure. To put a bow on old faces, new places, you spent a little bit of time with Philadelphia. Jack McGlynn, seemed like he was going to be Philly to the end, and here he is in Houston, and a lot of people around the league were kind of giving the sort of eyeball emojis on only $2 million for a very highly rated player. Your thoughts on that move?
Well, first and foremost, I was at their match against the New England Revolution earlier in the week, and Jack McGlynn looks very, very comfortable, fits right into, of course, the plans that the organization has for him. That's kind of a no-brainer, but it's always about how you sync up with your players and your other midfielders. So Artur and company, Bassi, Kowalczyk, these are players that really seem to complement the way that Jack McGlynn likes to play. It also weaves right into how Ben Olsen and company have revamped the playing style of Houston. They're a possession-based team. If I'm not mistaken, last year they were, the second best team when it came to possession. Maybe just behind the Columbus Crew. And he will continue to fortify that ethos and how they play. And of course, bangers only from Jack McGlynn. So any snitcher midfielders or even center backs, if he gets ready to step towards the top of the box and he gets ready to unwind one, y'all better step. Otherwise, it's going to be top bins.
I'm excited. I think the number of moves in the league and out of the league is really raise the level of anticipation, because there's going to be so many questions about rosters. Can this player play with this player? How's this going to go? And I'm just excited about the 30th MLS season that is right around the corner. And we will continue to monitor all that, but certainly get a little bit more dialed in as we head to opening day 2025 in Major League Soccer. Speaking of Major League Soccer, what a great 2024 season it was for our next guest. Coming up on the other side of the break, one of the breakout stars in the league, in American soccer, Charlotte FC, and U.S. men's national team striker Patrick Agyemang stops by. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to New Ground. One of the great players that made a name for himself in Major League Soccer last year and now is a full U.S. men's national team international. Here we are, joining us today, Patrick Agyemang. Patrick, how you living this week?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Thank you for having me. You know, we're still in preseason, pushing through, but almost there. So I'm definitely excited to start the season.
I don't know about almost, but you got a couple more weeks going, so you still got some work to do in the preseason for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to convince myself we're almost there.
So my first question is always about, typically, how did things start for you? What was the beginning? But growing up in an African household, that almost seems like a foregone conclusion that you're going to be a footballer if you like to play sports. But for you, when was the moment where you realized being a professional footballer was not necessarily a dream, but a reality that was close and at your fingertip?
That's a great question. So obviously, like you said, like growing up, I'm in a household that's pretty much all we do is live and dream this sport of, soccer. And my dad introduced us, my mom supported, and my brothers and I, we just kept going. We just kept playing. So obviously in the beginning, we're all like, oh, I'm going to be professional. I'm going to be professional. But I think when it really started to click was when I transferred from Eastern Connecticut State to Rhode Island. That's when I said, all right, at this point, if it don't work out, then I don't know what's going on. Because the whole transition to that position was like, it's something that like, I can't really explain how it happened so swiftly, So once I got to Rhode Island, I kind of locked in. I said, all right, I'm going to go for it now. Really put discipline on everything I did when I got there, and I just shot for it.
I think it's amazing, Patrick. A lot has been made about the fact that you started off in Division III soccer and am now a full U.S. international. And there's a lot of discussion about pathways in the academy, and everyone's journey is their own journey. What did Division III soccer, Division I soccer give you that you've relied upon here to head into what looks to be another outstanding season in Major League Soccer?
Yeah, so for me, when I was in high school, and I was getting, I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna go for school. I had like two schools really reach out, and it was a school in Connecticut called St. Joseph's and in Eastern. So for me, it was like Eastern. I did the visit and tour and everything. I said, this is where I want to be. When I got there, I never really had like that structured environment. I just kind of went out and played, and I was always supported with the clubs I played with, so I always give credit to them. But Eastern was more structured in terms of school. I'm away from home, like I'm living on campus and all these things. So it made me like realize, all right, there's levels to this. Like there's real levels, and I think Eastern set me up for success because like that's the first time I really was focused on the tactical side as much as the game. I'm doing video, I'm doing all these things, and it was like new to me, So when I went from there and I got used to it and I started to like really excel from there, that's when my mentality shifted from just like, oh, I just want to be on the pitch to like really devoting myself to the game. And that's when I got to Rhode Island. When I got to Rhode Island, is obviously a step up. Division I is going to be a step up. So for me, it was, all right, now let's show this commitment even more to the game. And I just took everything in stride. I like worked for everything. Like I just kept telling myself, like, obviously people going to doubt what I'm doing. They're going to doubt like my dreams and whatever. So I said, I'm just going to prove it. So every step of the way I went, I just said, like, in my mind, I'm just going to have to prove myself. And I've been doing it since growing up, and I'm going to continue doing it now. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how my mentality has been the whole way. And even when I got the call up, I said, I guess we're doing it again. Just got to prove myself again. And I just want to continue doing that because it helps me stay grounded and it helps me ultimately put my best foot firm.
I mean, your best front stays in front, my bro. And one of the things, that I love about you, what I love about you, and I told you this last year when covering your games, you're extremely humble, but you also have that vein where it's like anybody could get this smoke.
He got the dog in him, yep.
Yeah, for sure.
My question is, though, does it bother you when people talk about how unique your pathway is? Because it bothers me, and I can explain why later.
I actually want to hear what you say. For me, it's like I don't really. People's opinions just people's opinions. I don't really like take people's opinions really into consideration. I think the main thing that bothers me is like when people say I came out of nowhere. That's where it's like. That's where it's like for me. I'm like, all right, y'all just really just talking for real, because the people that know where I've came from and everything, like they knew like at some point I was gonna get to some degree of this opportunity as long as I kept going, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's like when I hear like, oh, this guy came out of nowhere, like who's this guy? Da-da-da. Like obviously it's cool. I like to hear that, but don't downplay my like journey. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Facts.
So that's kind of the main thing for me that bothers me. But besides that, like it's cool because I know my journey like encourages a lot of people now. They're like wicked and they're like, oh, if he could do it, then it's possible to do it from wherever I can and started from. So like that's the part I like about it. But when people downplay it, that's when I'm like, all right, come on.
Yep. Julian, what you think? What are you gonna add? I'm waiting to hear what you say. Yeah, I want to hear what you said too. Why does it bother you?
I think you bring up a good point. Where it bothers me is that people want to continuously belittle college soccer, and people oftentimes when they're talking about your ascendancy to the national team, it's this kid came out of nowhere. It's like, well, have you guys been watching then? Did you watch him when he was balling with Charlotte's MLS Next Pro team? Did you watch him when he was playing all of 2024 and carrying that front line? And how many national team players came from college? Until somebody can answer that question to me and then also prove to me that college soccer is obsolete, we are still in a situation where college soccer is producing some of our players that are playing in Champions League, players that are being able to redo their deals in a short amount of time in MLS, people that are taking their January camp runs and just being absolute beasts after them, aka Patrick Agyemang. So here we are.
No, I hear it. I hear it. And I don't get the slander, to be fair. I think it's just obviously the look of it is like, oh, academy and all these steps, it's the way, but there's multiple pathways for a reason. Like you can't downplay someone's pathway because of where they're right. Like if they make it to a specific place, how can you look down on their pathway? That doesn't make sense at all. So I hear you on that for sure.
Well, and I'll jump in and say you were 12th overall pick in the draft. Yeah. Like, so it's just more people telling on themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
More than anything. Yeah, that's how I feel about that as well. So, Patrick, you had a tremendous season. Dean Smith was full of praise, team high 10 goals, 5 assists as well. And I'm curious if you had a moment last season or even with the national team in January camp where you were like, yeah, this fits like a glove. This is me. This is my time. I can do this. And the best is ahead. Is there a moment or more of a feeling you arrived at when you knew that all your hard work, your perseverance, everything you put into it, your family support you mentioned, would put you in this position to be successful?
Yeah. I think it was the second half of the season. I want to say I think it was right after I had an injury. It was literally had an injury around like September. And I think I missed a couple of games or so. And that moment was when like I started to like really appreciate what I've been doing and like appreciate the season I was having. And then I think once I got back from that, that's when like it felt natural. It felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is me. And I think I had like I don't know how many goals I scored around that time, but it just felt good. Like I felt really good on the ball. I felt really good like with my teammates. My teammates trusted in me. And like Dean literally was telling me like, listen, like I want you to go and play. I want you to work hard, but I want you, when it's time to show what you can do, show what you can do. And when you have the backing of like the team and you have the backing of your coach, it's like, all right, now it's just me. And that's literally like how I enjoy my game. And I think it was the same thing when I went to the national team. Like when I got there, I was nervous, of course, because at the end of the day, it's my first time, you know? Mm-hmm. But as we're training and as we're playing and intensity and all these things, I'm like feeling myself like, yeah, like I feel like I belong in this environment. And then like Poch is telling us like, listen, like I want you to go in and show yourself and play the way you know you can play. It's like, all right, cool. Like that's all I want to do.
Mhm.
And like when you get in the game, you get your first couple touches. You like literally in the first game once I caused that PK, like from there it was like I knew. I think right then and there I knew I was gonna make an impact, whether it's that game or the next. So it's just like the little things for me. I think when I have the full confidence in the coaches and all that, I just go.
Nah, that's fire. That's fire. So what I always want to know are like the little aspects of the game or the experience of navigating being a pro that people see differently that they then use as competitive advantages. So my question is, what do you look for in defenders that tell them or that tell you, ooh, I'm gonna cook this dude? Is it like when us defenders we're tired, or maybe your hands on our knees on a corner kick, or they get the first tackle wrong, or whatever have you, but without giving up all your secrets, what are some of the signs?
I was just gonna say,
Whether
I'm
it's
like,
body
feel like
language,
all property lawyers are upset right now.
whether it's body language or nonverbals or whatever, and this isn't going to be a secret that you're giving away because it's a part of the game that
It's an observation.
you can't hide it. Like if you tired, you tired. You can't hide it.
Yeah, 100%. That's such a great question you pose. I think for me, like obviously, I like to look for the defender that's the most uneasy on the ball that I play against. So like typically each team has like one of the center backs that love being on the ball.
Yeah.
And for me, I usually like pick on the one that's not. Just because it's like if I'm pressing you,
Patrick, real quick, do you know before the game?
Of course, we know from the scout.
Alan,
You know, from team
I
scout.
know. I just was making sure he threw it all the way back.
Listen. For me, it's obviously we do every team does the report, but like I'm always like very fixated because I gotta see who I'm going against always. So like I'm doing my research as well. Like I'm not going in blank like blind. I'm like, I want you to have the toughest 90 minutes you're gonna play. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm not going just blind. So especially that, and of course when I see heavy legs, it's like, bro, like you asking for it. You asking for me to really like go crazy in this game. That you know. So it's just picking my moves. I look for little things though. I do look at things with defenders though. I do. I can't lie to that.
There you go. Keep some of them in your back pocket though.
Is there a lot you can learn to take one more beat on that? And I always love when Jalil gets very inside baseball, if you will. He's very technical and tactical how he sees the game. Is there things you can learn from a defender to make you a better forward? You know what I mean? As you master your craft, are there things that, okay, this guy does this and he does it well, I need a counter on that? Like, how do you go about evolving your game? Because you mentioned the scout, Patrick. Guess what? I know everyone in the Eastern Conference learned your name the hard way last year. Everyone knows your name this year.
Yeah.
So everyone's scouting you now. You're on the scout. Okay.
Yeah.
How are you going to evolve your game? And do you find the game is sort of there from little things like a defender or another attacker or whatever you get the game from?
Yeah. I like that question because it's definitely something you got to think about. But the game is about moments. So I know it only takes one chance for me to really break through, and that's when I get it. So it's not me rushing, and I'm not like I try not to get too frustrated when the game's not going my way because I know like literally one ball in behind and I beat the guy. Now I'm in a position where I can score, and that changes the whole dynamic. So it's like I try to really be patient with myself and trust that we'll get chances going forward. Because before, like, I used to really be like, I have to do this right now, and I'll just get frustrated. And now I'm out the game just because of that. So it's me trying to read, like, specific timings, watching defenders, and just taking my time and, like, really, like, applying myself to the game and then taking that chance. So I try to just be in the game as much as possible. But it is like, defenders are good. Like, there's some good defenders in this league, you know? So it's now me like you said, taking that next step, and that's me like being able to counteract what they're doing against me and stuff.
Yeah, that's very sound I think it's a good insight. No, for real.
What you want me to say?
It's very sound and good.
You sounded like you were about to have a and but the way you said it. It's sound, but
Not at all. Not at all.
left it out
No,
there.
No,
How would you,
no.
real quick, Jalil? How would you have, with who you are as a player, 12 years in this league, real receipts? How would you go about trying to mark and shut down Patrick?
Well, first of all, I would have wanted it to be in maybe year 7. That's probably better than year 12 or 11. You know?
That's the most real thing ever said on this whole platform.
That's the first thing. And I mean, not to stifle all of my younger brothers, secrets, but what I would have completely guarded myself from would have been any foot races. So, but the one thing I know about you, Patrick, is you love to use defenders' momentum against you or against them. They get too tight, you can spin them and it's over.
Spin them.
So I would hit you and then give you a little.
Yeah.
So that's more what I would like. That would have been my strategy. But I guess the last thing that I would say to answer your question specifically, Alan, the reason why Patrick Agyemang is one of the best forwards in MLS right now is because he always keeps defenders guessing. He's not he's multifaceted. He can run in the channel. His hold-up play is excellent. He'll snipe you if you aren't paying attention on the back post. So that defines an excellent 9. You talked about the game being about moments. That is 100% true. And that is what the best 9s and goal scorers and goal manufacturers understand. We also know that African parents, especially West African parents, are immaculate at describing the moments to us in life that are crucial for your development for the next stage and where you're trying to go.
Love it.
So when you talk about growing up in an African household and you talk about, what that has done for your ability to navigate this profession and navigate this life, talk about some of the ways in which your parents would make sure that you are getting certain crucial moments in your life right so that all options are in front of you in life.
I think the main thing was you see them and how hard they worked, right? My parents worked multiple jobs as we grew up, my brothers and I, and they worked multiple jobs and they're going in early and coming back late. So with that being said, they did not complain to us. They never complained to us. They never made it look what I'm doing for you guys. You guys need it. It was just yeah, I'm doing it for my boys. And us growing up, we're looking at that and we're we want to be able to repay them because of how hard they work without complaining to us. They never looked at us oh, you guys are the reason why we're struggling. No. They were we want you guys to be great. So we're going to do everything we can to be great for you guys. And on top of that, they're supportive. So the most supportive parents. They try to go to every game I had. Even when they couldn't, they really tried. They realized what my goals were. And even the times where they struggled to do payments and stuff, they still try to find ways. They knew I wanted to be a freshman soccer player. They never looked down upon it. They always just go for it. So with that, it's a kind of hunger to give back to them. And that's why I think when I'm in this profession, you see me play, I'm trying to put my stamp everything, because when I see them in that position, it's I want to repay them. And that's me trying to repay them by my game.
That's incredible. We just mentioned Africa, Ivory Coast International. Wilfried Zaha is your new teammate. Crystal Palace, Man United, Cardiff City, almost 70 goals, 300 plus appearances. How's it been so far? And I know you were away at USMNT January camp, but what are you looking forward to this season playing with the striker? And has there been a moment in training where you're oh, okay, we got a real one here. Watch out.
Oh, with Wilf Zaha. Yeah. Yeah, you see the level. That's just we're talking these are one of the most exciting wingers that played in the Prem. Right. You list out wingers and you're gonna play his name in there, So when he's here and he's not he's here to play. Like, he's been showing it in training. Like, there's moments where he pick up the ball and it's just like, oh wow, like yeah, this is that level, you know. And I think for me, it's cool because now I get to play with someone of that caliber on the wing, and now we could like combine and do all these things and make a madness this year, you know. But I think there was a moment where like we played in the scrimmage and like we combined it for a goal, and I was like, all right.
Like this was our first. I'm sorry,
bet.
It was, literally.
It was literally our first like game playing together, and then like we connected for a goal, and I was like, okay, I see it. But obviously, there's still things to like counteract each other. Like we still got to build on that and that relationship in the field. But you just see like you see the level, and it's exciting to see a level like that. Like I've never really seen an attacking player, and like I could learn from him as well, and things he does, movements and all these things. So I think with him being here, it's just gonna get me even better.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, man. I feel like every single attack needs, to be multifaceted. Where if now teams are completely fixated on Zaha, they're gonna have to worry about you. If they're completely worried about you, Zaha can kill him as well. And it's the DNA of any type of attack that can really compete for titles. My question for you before Allen closes out is just basically on legacy, because now you're building it. It's no longer like you are trying to survive in the league and with the national team or get there. It's now, what do you want to make of it? So what do you want to accomplish in 2025, both individually and collectively with the national team and with Charlotte FC?
Individually, I want to be reliable. I want to be consistent. And I think I just want to be like a leader up front. And obviously, like on my team, I'm like you say, I'm 24 now, and like I feel like I'm more mature than like especially in this professional. So now it's like I think going forward, like I want to be kind of that guy up front. I want to be like when people are looking at a team up front, they're like, all right, we know we got to focus on this guy. And I just want to be consistent playing, because at the end of the day, like as long as I'm playing games, that's where I'm going to help impact the team. So I'm trying to like hyperfixate on my recovery, what I eat, and all these things. So that's the main thing for me, is just being there, being available, and being able to play. And I think everything else would come from there for sure. In terms of the team, I think top four is what we're aiming for. Top four, we're not looking for anything less than top four. Last year we were close, but close is not enough. I think we just got to get it at this point.
That's how you know you play for an English manager. Talking about top fours and the left.
Facts.
I love it. Hey, let everyone know, Dean, he's listening. He is paying attention. Put my guy on.
Facts.
And what else? What else?
And yeah, I think that's the main thing for me. And like obviously, when it comes to my stat line, like I want to be up there. Like that's just facts. I want to be looked at as one of the better nines in the league, and that's what I'm going for. It's gonna be my goal every year, and it's not going to change at that point.
I have no doubt that another season building on your trajectory is going to put you in a position to be a part of the U.S. men's national team next summer. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck. And Patrick, you are wise beyond your years. There's no such thing as old and young players, only good and bad ones. And you're very, very good. And I just believe that the best is ahead. And there's no doubt that Charlotte is got a real one in the future. And we are looking forward to seeing you continue to grow, continue to do everything you're doing on and off the field. We're going to be looking for you to grow as a leader. We know that's what's next for you, and you're well on your way to being one of the top nines in our league. So congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us this week here on New Ground, and we're looking forward to chopping it up again as you continue to play at a high level.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I better come back on this podcast again, though.
It's lit.
Yeah, you got it, man. You got it. I'll even go one step further. I'm going to put it out there. You have to speak these things. Let's do this in Austin at the All-Star game. When you get that recognition, I'm just going it out there. We'll chop it up in Austin. You'll be with us there. But I think some of those accolades and some of those recognitions are what's in front of you. And I know you're going to put yourself in every position to realize those. So that is the amazing Patrick Agyemang joining us here. We're 20 episodes into New Ground in the books. There are so many parts of our hearts that we pour into these conversations, and we hope that you watch, you subscribe to our YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Our handle is @NewGroundShow. Up next, like we do every week, Jalil and I close the curtain on another great episode of New Ground as we hand out our flowers. Don't go anywhere. New Ground returns after this. Welcome back to New Ground, where we close out the show each and every week by giving out our flowers. And I want to express the gratitude and say thank you to Patrick Agyemang, who joined us to cover New Ground. And you could tell, Jalil, in the first 30 seconds of conversation that it was going to be rich, it was going to be impactful, and it's going to be memorable. So we appreciate him stopping by. And I think he has another big year teed up. And that Zaha and Agyemang combination, I wonder if they got the cellies already going, because we could see that early and often for sure. It'll be exciting to see. As we do every week, time for our flowers. Last week, I gave it to Mr. Immortality, Kobe Jones. He's now getting a statue outside of Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California. The quintessential Southern Californian soccer player, UCLA, LA Galaxy, World Cup, but also went to England, went to Brazil, and challenged himself all over this beautiful globe. So my flowers last week went to Kobe. Congratulations. This week, going across the pond, and I'm going to give my flowers to Marcus Rashford. I think sometimes the first move is the hardest move, and I believe the best is ahead for him. He's going to a Villa side, Aston Villa, on loan, that I think could use his services, particularly how they just went and got a bag on John Duran, who's being flipped like a hot house in the housing market back in the 2000s. He goes to Saudi Arabia. I digress. Marcus Rashford, who has been a guy who stood up against racism, who stood in the headwinds of discrimination, and someone who has led the line for club and country. He gets my flowers this week as he makes the move, at least for now, to Aston Villa.
Yeah, and a top baller as well. I think that's been forgotten about and lost in the conversation when you talk about Marcus Rashford. He's a player that was literally one of, if not the best Man United player a season and a half to 2 seasons ago, where it was a foregone conclusion that when Man United needed a spectacular moment, it was coming from Marcus Rashford. And like you mentioned, that's not only on the field, but off it as well. In that vein, when you talk about off the field, that's exactly where I'm going with my flowers, because my flowers are going to all of the support staff members for all MLS teams throughout preseason.
Oh,
And the reason,
look at you.
and the reason why is because preseason is normally the time where it's very clear to players that this is all of us in here doing this. This is all of us here moving toward one accord, and everybody is sacrificing. So people that are around the group through the entirety of preseason would always get my respect.
I love this.
You know how it is, us players, we can be very protective of the environment. So sometimes you don't necessarily want people that will just show up and say and sit down in the film room. Hey, who is you? But if you're one of the trainers, if you're one of the team admins, if you are one of, the people that are there in the trenches, you have players' respect. So shout out to all of those support staff members who make players' jobs easier, coaches' jobs easier, the families' jobs easier when it comes to organizing things. It's doesn't really get shouted out enough, but preseason is y'all's time to shine. So when the team gets back in market, everything runs smoothly. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, and I hope preseason is not so bad as sometimes it can be for y'all.
Yeah, you know what? I co-sign. I want to give an extra set of flowers as well, as someone who has been director of team ops. And preseason is so important. And Steph and I were talking earlier that it's the hardest part of the season for your family to believe in what you're doing.
Correct.
Because it's 4, 5, 6 weeks when players talk about the sacrifice they make, it is this stretch where you're really gone. Not, hey, I'm gone for 3 days, I'm home. It's, no, I'm gone for 2 weeks and things happen. And real quick, shout out, congratulations to Earl Edwards Jr. had his third baby during preseason, by the way, because you know how this goes. So congratulations to him, his wife, his family. But that's what happens. Life happens. And it's just such a great shout out by you, Jalil. You always have a great sense of who needs what when. And it's these folks in the dog days of preseason in February who are grinding just like the players. And you do earn your respect in operations as the kit man or woman, a performance coach, whatever it is. You earn your real street cred during preseason. Just like you said, and for players, you know, from 5v2, I think the players know from the jump who on the staff is legit and can operate at high levels. So well said, as always, Jalil, for shouting out the people who don't always get shouted out. So credit to them as well. And credit to our wonderful team behind the scenes each and every week who make this show happen. A lot of love and respect to Pete Corey, but of course, every week, New Ground's executive produced by Wayne Edwards and produced by Stefan Geraldo. Our New Ground team of Megan Fontenot, Krista Mann, and our music director, Mason, always awesome. Don't forget, you can listen to previous New Ground episodes on SiriusXM app. For Jalil, I'm Alan. We'll see you next time on New Ground. As always, thanks for listening.